Hello, everyone. Divine Feminine Empress 444 here to do a collective read. Yes, I happen to doze off, collective. I hope everybody's doing really well. I came in after work today and boy, I was exhausted. But I had some dreams, of course, so I had to get on and do a message here. I'm definitely getting there's a collective, you have somebody in your energy that is I want to say more like a darker spirit, right? And this is a feminine energy. This is a female. And I'm feeling like it's either a mother figure or like a grandmother figure, something of that sort. But there was somebody in your family, in your bloodline, that was a darker energy. For sure. Okay? Because that's how it showed up in my dream. Now, that doesn't have to be 100% for everybody. For someone else, this could just be someone dark that wants to come against you. The way it was showed to me in my dream, though, was like as if it was one of my grandmothers, which is really sad because it was like my grandmother from my father's side. Yeah. So let's tap into this energy because let's see what comes up. I hope everybody's doing really well. So we have blocked spam calls or texts, too late. And we have side hustle. And we have drinking, toxic lifestyle. Let's get something more. We have the devil. Oh, that one flew. We have the three of swords. I'm telling you, that dream was so weird, but it felt so vivid. So, yeah, we have the nine of swords. In my dream, though, it was so weird because, hold on, let me get these out and then I'll talk more about it. So then we have the nine of cups in reverse. We have the king of swords. We have the star. The hermit. And the chariot. Okay. So, let me go back into this dream because I do want to tell you guys about this dream that I had. So, in my dream, it would have been my father's side of the family, but it was my grandmother, and it was weird because she was being extra nice in the dream, right? And her and I had a really strange relationship. I feel like she had the same kind of relationship with my sister as well. One, my grandmother on my father's side of the family, they didn't like my mother, right? And then two, this mother was actually his stepmother. So I don't know, she really this is really sad to say, but she really didn't care about my father that much either. Okay. So, but my father was always the type to kind of like go over and beyond and still do for her, that kind of shit. Needless to say, the point of what I'm trying to get at is we had an estranged relationship. So, but it was weird in this dream. She was actually like inviting and very friendly at first. So then when I got there and in my dream, it was like I was older and like current. And she was actually really nice to me, and it was weird because I could tell like she knew something. And it was almost like one of those feelings like in the dream, like she knew something I didn't know and wondering if I actually caught on. And for some reason in the dream we got into like spirituality and talking about spirituality. And she said, "You're here to it was so crazy because it seemed so fake but real. And she said, "You're here to defeat me, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And like literally at that time in my dream, I knew she knew that I was like, it literally came to me like as if dark witch, good witch, right? That's how it showed up to me. Um, and then I woke up. It was so weird. It was so weird. But anyway, I'm gonna get into this because I feel like I'm supposed to talk about this for somebody. Yeah. So anyway, you could have somebody in your life here that you have blocked, right? Too late. Um, I feel like whoever this is, they waited too long to try to communicate with you. This is somebody who definitely was. Mm, I just heard they're a runner, right? This is somebody who travels. Um, this is somebody who lives a toxic lifestyle. They drink. Um, they could smoke marijuana. They could, run around in the bars. And not saying any of those things are bad. Because I really try not to judge people. To me, more it's doing things in moderation, right? But this is somebody who like excessiveness is the way spirit's showing this to me. And again, this could be like a toxic family member. So take it how it resonates for you. Um, I'm definitely getting like, because I know on my father's side of the family, a lot of people on that side of the family have a lot of drinking problems. We were never really around them too much. Um, no, I was around my both of my grandmothers and their husbands, but when it comes to like distant family, I was never really allowed to be around them because they were alcoholics, and my dad was more into religion. So yeah, we weren't allowed to be around them. But anyway, mm, I'm definitely seeing in this energy. It's oh, very toxic energy, like an attachment, something that has to do with doing shadow work, right? Brokenheartedness. I'm definitely, this is how it's showing up to me from spirit. Like someone pulling on your energy that had broken your heart in the past. Okay? And again, that could be anyone. This could be family for sure. But take it how it resonates for you. Whatever this situation is that you went through with this person, this caused you some kind of anxiety, some kind of sleepless nights at some point, right? And I'm definitely getting more like when I'm in this energy here, it's showing me like from childhood, like from past. Mm. It was like somebody taking away who you were at the time, like taking away your joy, taking away your peace of mind, taking away just your happiness, right? Yeah, I'm definitely getting like family, okay? So whoever I'm speaking to, this has to do with like when you were younger, and dealing with family. Yeah. But with this King of Swords, you could have been somebody in the past that maybe you feared this person, okay? Maybe it was somebody in an authority figure, right? Maybe it was a grandparent, maybe it was a mother figure, a father figure. Take it how it resonates for you. But it was almost like you were made to change who you were, right? Made You went from this loving and like just feeling free and generous spirit, right? To being told to not be yourself. That's what I'm getting. Mm. And now I feel like you're in this energy of like digging deeper, right? Going through that pain, going through, what was that made you change? And this could be multiple people in your family. This could be multiple people just in general. Like, even when we go to school, right? Excuse me, as children. And I know when I was going to school, I don't know about y'all, but when I was going to school, they were allowed to paddle your ass back then. And boy, did I ever get it quite a bit. Because I was the type of kid, man, I didn't sit still. Like, I always was a very, like, loving and expressive type of person. And I had a lot of energy. And a lot of people always wanted to, like, stop me from being that way. Um, I'm called to give this example. When I was a kid, two examples here. Um, when I was a kid, I used to I had an old soul, and everyone used to tell my mother that. Um, they'd be like, "Man, your daughter has an old soul." Because I could hang out with friends that were young, that were my age, but then I would always sit with the old our whole block was filled with, like, elderly people, right? It was either elderly or there was a family with, like, younger kids my age. So, I wanna say it was pretty diverse, actually. Maybe, like, a mix of both, but on one section, it was mostly elderly. And I would sit on their porches with them and let them they would tell me their problems. And they were old ladies. Um, yeah. So, anyway, the other part of it is I have to tell you guys this story because this is funny to me. I lived next door to this lady, and literally, I always used we used to call her a witch. Her name was I can't say her name. But anyway, her name even was witchy, okay? But anyway, we'd be outside as kids playing, and we'd be playing kickball or, like, just bouncing balls in the middle of the street because it was a pretty private street. And, if our ball would go into her, like, little way in between her house, because my friend lived next door to her, so if the ball would bounce back there, she would try to, like, yell at us or hit us if we went to try to go get the ball. So a lot of the times we were scared of her. And then I remember me though, I was so like outgoing that I didn't give a shit. I would go get it. And a lot of times she'd come out and try to smack me with her broom. And I'm telling this story for a reason, collective, I promise. Um and then one day I decided I was gonna draw, right? I was gonna do artwork and draw people and sell them the drawing that I made of them, right? Because I wanted some money to go get candy at the corner store. So that's what I did. And it was me and my friend that did it. We made a whole bunch of pictures of people that lived on the block, and we were selling them to the neighbors for like 25 cents and 50 cents. And because back then you could get penny candy. That's how old I am. So anyway, it came to everyone else I drew pretty nice. You know what I mean? And Annabelle, I drew her exactly how I saw her. And I drew her she was a heavier woman and she was really mean. So I drew her with fangs and I drew her with her broom and I drew like a bubble coming from her mouth and like cussing and saying bad things. And I knocked on her door. I think everyone else thought I wouldn't do it. And I knocked on her door and I said, "Hey, I have this painting for you." I said, and I wanted to know if you'd buy it from me. And so I showed it to her and she cracked up laughing. And she said, "Well, how much are you selling this for?" And I said, "Well, everyone else we were selling them for 25 cents, but I think you should pay 50 because you're mean." and needless to say, she bought the painting. Okay. But this is to prove a point here, collective. Sometimes you have to step up for and stand up for yourself. This is what I'm getting at. I do have to continue with this story because I thought it was funny what my mom did. So my mother, I came home with a whole bunch of candy. So of course my mother was like, "Where the hell did you?" Because we were like middle class, like lower middle class family. So we had our home, but we still weren't. We were just barely making it. You know what I'm saying? So my mom, when she comes home and she sees me with all this candy, she's like, "Where the hell did you get money to get all this candy?" And I was like, "Well, I sold paintings to all the neighbors." And she was like, "Jesse, you don't do that." And I was like, "What is wrong with me doing that?" I was using my brain. I wanted candy. And I knew a way to get it was I had to do something to make it. So, needless to say, she made me return all the money back to these people, right? And then when we get to this lady's house that I drew, because I told her, I said, "Well, I drew the one picture of the other neighbor lady." I'm trying not to say her name. I apologize. So my mother said, "No, you didn't." And I said, "Yeah, I did." So when we get to her house, the lady comes out and she's telling my mother the story and shows her the picture. And my mother was so embarrassed. And I just looked and I was like, "What?" And she was like, but my mother used to always say that to me, how honest I was and like how forward I was about people. Like I just didn't care. I was always a truth teller. If I felt a certain way about you, I'm going to tell you about yourself. But people used to always tell me, like, try to stop me from saying the truth. And I could never understand that. I could tell you so many other situations in my life that happened. But that's the kind of energy that I'm getting here. It's like you were made to, like, shut up, mind your business, don't be you, right? That's the energy that I'm getting. And it's like, no, you were meant to be this way. So you were meant to speak out. You were meant to be a truth teller, be honest, right? And people wanted to silence you from that. That's what I'm seeing. Thank you, Spirit. That was a long way to get to what I was saying, but I feel like that was needed for someone. Yeah. So anyway, with the star energy, it's all about having faith, finding your purpose, right? Going through this renewal process, breaking into those energy fields of what you were suppressed from. That's what I'm called to say. It's like not allowing people to dumb you down anymore, right? Silence you. You're allowed to be able to speak. Um, say how you feel. Mhm. Mm, yeah. So I feel like you definitely had to go within, right? This is another part of your healing process, right? Um not feeling like you can't say what you need to say, okay? Because it's crazy too, because it's usually the people that try to silence you are the ones that have shit to hide, right? Thank you, Spirit. But I feel like you're taking action on this, right? Finding willpower, understanding that you don't, and it's not even that you're speaking up to harm people. It's just like speaking up because you're entitled to your own voice. Thank you, Spirit. It's not that you want to harm people or that you want to disrespect anyone, right? But I always say, if people show up a certain way in life, they can't get mad when later on you tell your story about it, right? That's how you showed up. So maybe you should have showed up different. Now, one thing I will say, and I always say this when I bring this kind of scenario up, because this has come up before. If you are called to speak about like different situations and scenarios that you went through, don't put names or don't say names, right? Because out of respect, right? One, two, it can be an issue later on. But yeah, you're allowed to speak about your situation and your story. hmm Sorry, that was a really long rant, but man, I'm telling you what, that lady. If y'all only knew her name, I wish I could tell you her name. I don't know if I could or not, but the name is literally just as evil. And she was so mean. She would hit us and everything. Like she was so mean. But anyway, so we have the 5 of Wands. Yeah, it's like I'm getting an energy of like people trying to stop you, right? Lots of people, it's gonna be up to 5 different people that tried to stop you from like being who you were, wanting you to walk away, like put your head between your legs, I'm hearing. Um, dumb yourself down, not speak on things, right? Push you out of the picture. Oh, that's another situation that I will speak on. Um, when I was around 13, my parents got divorced, right? And my dad had met someone new. My mom ended up with somebody new. Um, long story short, neither one of them really cared for me and my sister, um, meaning their spouses. And how do I want to say this? So I actually walked into a room and saw my stepmother at the time. I saw her like sitting on another man's lap when I came home one night. And she tried to make it like I didn't see what I saw. And I know I seen what I saw. But I didn't want to hurt my dad, so I never told my father, but I had told my grandmother. And when I told my grandmother about it, I asked her not to say anything, but she said something anyway to my dad. Of course. I'm sure she wanted to. Um, but then it was right before Christmas when this happened. And I ended up moving back in with my mother at the time. Um, and my stepmother showed up at my mother's house and threatened me. Literally threatened me. She walked into the house, came to the kitchen, and this was on Christmas Day. She came and did this and was like, "You ever say anything about me again, I'll make sure you never see your father again." Literally. And at the time I was very hurt because my mother at the time, she heard her talking to me and heard what she was saying to me and didn't say anything. Yeah. So that was just like a way of silencing me. It was so weird. And I couldn't understand it because I was like, I know I'm not fucking lying. But now I'm made to feel like I'm wrong for telling the truth. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a heavy feeling of that here. Yeah. This is the 10 of Pentacles. I feel like this is going to open opportunities for you, right? You could be writing a book. You could be a public speaker, something of that sort. Maybe you're called to speak about the different things that you went through, right? Mhm. For someone here too, I'm hearing that you could have went through some form of abuse. But to me, even trying to silence people is a form of abuse. Yeah. Mhm. All right. So we have the 4 of Swords and we have the 2 of Cups. I feel like at this time, like you could have went through a period of time where you had to again like go within. It was like fighting through those swords from the past, right? Understanding that weight of feeling like that being silenced, on your chest, right? And then understanding that loving I'm really called to say just loving on yourself enough that it doesn't matter how other people made you feel, or because of their sick, evil ways and secretive lifestyles, right? That you can't speak. No, you're to speak. Mm-hmm. You're not to hold yourself back. And then you could have entered into like shitty marriages because of this, right? Thank you, Spirit. I know I did. I ended up thinking that like I'm supposed to wait on my husband hand and foot and just shut up, right? Even when they're doing something like cheating, or maybe they have a toxic um lifestyle thing, right? Maybe they're a heavy drinker, maybe were doing drugs, something of that sort. Maybe you felt like you couldn't tell anybody about it because you were always told to be quiet, right? I don't know if you guys were brought up in my era as well, but like you definitely, in my era, we were raised to you don't speak on what goes on inside the house. Yeah. Mhm. So this could have been like something that you went through from childhood all the way into now. You know what I'm saying? You know, you ended up seeing this in relationships, and now then you went into relationships like this, right? Mhm. Thank you for hitting the like button. I greatly appreciate it. So we have the Queen of Wands. Yeah. This is all about you being courageous, right? Mhm. Finding a new zest for life, right? Being determined, right? Being okay with who you are, being able to speak about your experience. And again, it's not to harm anyone, right? Mm-mm. Definitely heavy Pisces energy, heavy Aries energy, Aquarius energy, Virgo energy, Cancer, Leo, mm, Capricorn energy as well. Heavy Pisces energy though I'm seeing, and heavy Aries. I'm getting a heavy Aries feeling. Okay. Yeah, judgment. It's like calling judgment on the past, right? Going through a whole new rebirth, relearning yourself too after this, right? Because now you had to learn to find your voice again. Yeah. Phew. Don't I know about this shit? Well, obviously you know that because I'm telling you about some of my situations. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. I feel like I do need to write a book myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I feel like you're being awakened to who you really are now, right? Forgiving others from the past, right? Because maybe they were raised that way too. Like I always say, you can't really like, at least for me, maybe I'm wrong. But this is how I feel about the situation. A lot of the times it's patterns, right? People that were raised one way, they'll raise their children this way. And maybe you didn't want to raise your children this way because you knew it was bad, right? You were to be the truth speaker. You were to be the one that opens up the change, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like you're going to receive some kind of like public recognition for whatever this is that you're working on. It's all about you being self-confident, right? hmm And I see you doing it alone, is what I see. Thank you, Spirit. Yeah. Transitioning, right? Change, leaving behind, releasing the baggage. Maybe you also, I am called to say this too as well. Maybe you also picked up bad habits. You could have ended up being a heavy drinker. You could have ended up doing drugs. You could have ended up having some kind of sex addiction. It could have been something also that you had to experience because maybe that was like a backlash to being silenced. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's something here. But I feel like you've been doing the work on it, right? Digging within, digging deep, letting go of the past, going towards the future, right? Understanding that you're not judging people. How do I want to say this? Yes, you're judging the situation. You're not judging the people. Thank you, Spirit. Because if you're anything like me, I'm the type, I'm not judging a person per se. I'm judging the situation. What happened was fucked up. Okay? And it's like sometimes you have to understand that people only act the way they don't the only way they know to act, right? Yeah, because that's how they were taught. Mm. But I definitely see here you're meant to be the truth teller. You're meant to shake up some shit. Thank you, spirits. Yeah, look at this. Alone. Speaking on it. Mhm. Yeah. And this is going to help you feel free. Mhm. I just heard a fiery spirit. Yes. And again, it's not about hurting people to tell your story, right? Because you already did that work. You're no longer angry with people, the actual people that have done it, right? You're just speaking on the situation because now you know what was right and what was wrong, right? Mm. You could be someone who's going to help small children in tough situations. Maybe you're going to write a book about it, what your childhood experience was. Not feeling loved or, something of that sort. Yeah, high priestess. You're using your intuition, right? Whoever I'm speaking to, you definitely could be a divine feminine, doesn't have to be, but trusting in yourself, talking about your most vulnerable positions, right? Situations. hmm Understanding that you are a pure person, right? Pure mind, heart, body, spirit. That's what I just heard. Somebody with high morals, and I feel like people tried to beat those out of you. Someone could have literally, and I'm sorry to hear that if that happened. Yeah. I feel like this is definitely going to be for somebody. This is not going to be for everyone. And for those who it's meant for, you'll understand, right? And you'll get this message. But yeah, I definitely am getting like a heavy family. This is like family trauma, family issues. Yeah. Let's get a divine goddess oracle message here. Evaluation. Weed out what doesn't serve you. Reevaluate the situation. This says feed. I know it's a misprint, but it's weed. Balance. Juggling too many things at once. Find time for yourself. I'm definitely getting, maybe you're somebody who like is constantly busy, right? And maybe this is like something that you weren't really working on, but maybe all of a sudden now you've had time to work on it. Or maybe this is coming up for you, that you're going to start really like weeding through like the deep, dark things of the past. Okay. Don't be afraid of it and find that balance. Yeah. Go through those emotions. Past life connections. Yeah. Someone with heavy influence from a past life is with you. Strength, determination, perseverance, and self-discovery. One more. Moving on. Yeah. Endings that bring healthy beginnings. Yeah. It's all about like weeding out all that fucking shit from the past, right? All those weeds, those cobwebs that has been embedded in your mind from the past, right? And then finding healthy new things to do, healthy new ways to cope, healthy new ways to deal with, stress, trauma, right? Yeah. I'm definitely getting like generational curse breakers. That's what I'm getting here. Yeah. Mhm. Hopefully this resonated with somebody. Yes. And again, this was a collective reading. This wasn't a personal reading. If you are interested in a personal reading, everything you need is inside my description box. Um yeah. I hope everybody has a really good night. I hope everybody had a really good day today. The weather was really nice today. I felt it rained a little bit here where I live. In the morning a little bit, and then that died out and it got really nice out. All right, guys. I had to hop on and give you guys a message. I wanted to make sure I got on because I'm trying to stick to getting on every day. Of course, I'm gonna have to take some days here and there. I'll try to give you a heads up when I can't get on. So pay attention to my posts as well, because I do want to do a giveaway too. I'm still kind of deciding on how I want to do that. So pay attention to my posts and stuff too, guys, because you might be able to win a free reading. So yeah, I appreciate all of you for watching. I appreciate all of your love and support. Um, Even if it only reaches one person, to me, it means something. So you guys have a great night, and I will see you next time. Bye.